It's about to be. Oh, it's live. Hi, Arvind. Welcome to Venture with Grace today.
Thank you for having me.
To before we start off our show, I would love to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Our sponsor is Quill Meetings. So this is like one of the meeting app I find it's very amazing at like summarizing all the meetings. And like for example, if you're an investor, like you just chatted with a startup, and then you can quickly turn your entire meeting into like a quick summary of the meeting notes, as well as like sending to potential like other like collaborators, or like maybe you can storage in your cloud. So I'm a big fan of the app, and I feel like everyone should totally check it out. If you, especially if you're an investor or a startup founder, I feel like it will be the perfect meeting notes app for you. Okay, so Arvin, before we start our show, I would love for the audience to learn more about you. So you have started like multiple very successful company. You worked at Google for over 10 years. You started from like startup engineer to a distinguished engineer, which is one of the most like important engineer leader in the company. And then also like for previously you started a unicorn which is called Rubrik. So before you start Glean, what were some core lessons that you've learned early on in your career that you kind of took to your new like entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, well, good question. I mean, there are so many lessons, that I've been fortunate to actually learn from, like really good people in the industry, especially like my time at Google, where I spent over a decade, starting with my early parts of my career to growing as a leader there. There are so many things that I learned at Google, which I've actually then implemented in practice, at Rubrik and now at Glean. Some of them, like, so one thing that I learned was, and these are obvious, by the way, like, so there have been no surprises, but so first, like, it's about, like, the team, like, your company is actually nothing more than its people, and like making sure that, you are finding, really talented people who are very aligned, with the mission, with your company mission. That's the team that is going to build the company together with you. And so we focus a lot on that, like, our team building, finding folks like who are passionate about the problems, just like, how I am, we are. That's a big part of it. Second thing that I learned that, again, at Google was, um, technology and innovation, like, they have to be at the forefront of your company. And like, as long as you make sure that you innovate really, really well, and then there's a supporting cast of folks who are actually helping your engineers build great products, you can do a lot, like, with building a good product sells in some ways itself. Of course, you need a great sales team and
Mhm.
marketing team, but that's, like, the basic, of what you need. And like, oftentimes, entrepreneurs underestimate the difficulty of building a good product. So that's one of the things that's been, core part of our company. Like, our companies at Rubrik, at Glean, we were always first focused on building a great product before
Mhm.
anything else.
Mm. I have so many questions there. So like I feel like, I don't think it's a coincidence for you to start like two very successful company. And there's like a sea of engineers, amazing talented engineers at Google, at like, all these big tech companies. What do you feel like differentiated you to become a really great founder versus like being a great engineer itself?
Well, I mean, I think first the like, I don't actually really claim that, we have succeeded in a big way or more than others. Like, I think we're working hard trying to actually build good products and good companies. And I think, like, for me, like, again, these learnings, that we're just talking about, like, focusing on, like, building the great team. So that's one of the things that I do. Is really, like, spend, like, I'm the number one recruiter,
Mhm.
like, of talent at our company. Like, love to be in
Mhm.
that recruiting job. I love to spend a
Mhm.
very, very large fraction of my time actually doing that.
Mhm.
And I think that is what has helped us, build these really um, incredible founding teams, that then go and build the company for us. So I think just having, that, mindset of, like, the company is basically, the people, and not much more, beyond that. I think, that's sort of helpful to us. That's one thing that's helped us, build great teams. And like, once you build a great, initial team, they are the ones who are able to attract, the rest, the next set of people who are going to come in the company, and the cycle sort of perpetuates. So Glean today, for example, is known for having very, very strong talent, great people. And it's because of, like, the early team, that actually, had those credentials, and had accomplished so much in their own careers that people wanted to follow them.
Mm. I really like that you use the word like spin like as like the number one tutor in the company. So and like how did you kind of like find the core founding um team or like founding engineers or founding product leaders when you first started the company? And I know that you found you like recognize the problem from like Rubrik era, which is like a lot of people would search within the company database, but there's a lot of things that are it's not as easy to find, or like you don't really know how to answer a customer's question. So to start like with like a really good product, I wonder what would be the first um like group of customer that you're designing this for? Would it be for like the HR problems, or would it be the sales organizations? Like a lot of sales leader use like, what can we give the customer from the past, or like the pricing or everything. I guess what segment would you start with at the very beginning when you first thought about this is like a really big problem that you want to solve it?
Yeah. So the problem that Glean solves is helping employees
Mhm,
quickly find information that they need to do
mhm,
their work. So when we started out, like, that was our mission. Like, we wanted to
mhm,
be the Google for people in their work lives. And
mhm,
our product was not focused on helping, one user population. Like, we felt that, this problem of finding
mhm,
information, finding documents,
mhm,
conversations, and getting answers, to questions
mhm,
that you have, this is a very fundamental problem that every knowledge worker has. So in a
mhm,
company, whether you're an engineer or a customer support
mhm,
person, or is say, in sales or in marketing or HR or IT or finance, like, it doesn't matter. Like, all of us are constantly working with data and knowledge
mhm,
and information. All of us are interacting with our, with our colleagues, and asking them questions all the
mhm,
time. And that's how work happens. And all of us need that product that we were trying to build. So
mhm,
we've been horizontal from day one. We want to build a product that actually is used by every single person inside the company. Glean
mhm,
typically gets deployed wall to wall, and you have to think of it as, like, it's your personal assistant. Like,
mhm,
there is, all of us have day to day work,
mhm,
where we constantly need help. And think
mhm,
of Glean as, as a AI powered companion that's sitting next to you, and it helps you with whatever things you have. So for example,
mhm,
as an engineer, like, I need to actually, when I'm learning about some new technology, I want to actually know who are the people who built it, like, who are the ones who I can actually go and get a quick overview from. Or maybe not the people, but, like, just, like, have AI read all the documents and give me like a tutorial, give me like an onboarding sort of course, on that technology. Like, these are the kind of things, I would like to use Glean for. Or if I'm trying to troubleshoot an issue again, I want to sort of get some, hints and guidance on, like, where to start. And so Glean helps, a lot of these engineering use cases. But then switch over to customer support. Customer support agents are actually constantly resolving, cases that they're and answering questions for their customers.
mhm,
And again, like, Glean will help them, auto answer those cases, resolve those cases, or answer questions that their customers have. As a salesperson, like, you want to actually write a great message to a prospect, and Glean will help you sort of utilize all of the company's context and information on that customer to help you, create, great, prospecting emails, things like that. So when you think about work, like, it's AI is here, to actually make impact on all of us, and it can help us, with our day-to-day work. And that's how you have to think about Glean. It's that personal companion that sits next to you. It doesn't matter what role you play in the company, we're going to be helpful to you.
mm. I really like what you said about like being a personal companion to like every person in the company. And I wonder when it comes to building the product itself. So obviously, I feel like the interface or like the UX experience is really important. Like for example, maybe when you type in a question, they give you an answer instead of like you have to read like a huge block of text.
Mhm.
Besides that part, like I wonder what would you say is like the most like differentiated thing that Glean have done way better than many of other competitors in the space.
Yeah.
Like what's the differentiation between like let's say today I use a ChatGPT equivalent on my
Yeah.
company's database.
Yeah. Yeah. So so first, just to make sure that our listeners understand what Glean does, um, we answer questions that your employees have,
Mhm,
um, and we answer those questions using both the world's knowledge as well as all the knowledge that sits within your company, inside your company, your
mhm,
private company knowledge. So we're able to make use of both to actually help people with answers
mhm,
or with their tasks. Like we can actually do work for them. So Glean actually just functions like ChatGPT or Google
mhm,
inside our enterprise. Now, what are the difficult parts though? Like if you think about AI technology, all the AI models, these great models like Gemini or GPT-4
mhm,
or Claude, they've all been trained, on the public world's knowledge. And these models don't know anything about a specific company. Um, so inside your company, like if you have a simple question, like for example, how many days do we get off, as part of our
mhm,
PTO plan, or can I reimburse my cell phone bill? These are questions that these models won't know the answer for because all of
mhm,
this information is private and inside your company.
mhm,
So what Glean does is it does a really good job, bringing all of that internal company knowledge in one place. This knowledge actually sits in many different systems. So we have these deep
mhm,
integrations built into most of our enterprise systems. Systems like Workday or Salesforce or ServiceNow, Google Drive, OneDrive, Office, 365. Like that's where your company's knowledge and data lives. So we have hundreds of these really deep integrations into those systems to
mhm,
bring the knowledge, the data, the information from all of those systems in one place. And that's what you need, because ultimately you have to connect your enterprise data with the power of these public language models to make magic happen inside your company. So we're really good at that. That's one of the places where we distinguish ourselves from any other enterprise AI tool, including ChatGPT. Which again, like is really, when you think about ChatGPT Enterprise, it actually is
mhm,
still using the world's knowledge to answer questions for you.
mhm,
Second thing is, if you think about enterprise knowledge, is actually very different in nature than the knowledge on the internet.
mhm,
It's private. It's private in nature. Most information is actually privileged. Like only, like for example, you may write a document, and and you've shared it only with two people inside the company. So only
mhm,
the three of you then can actually use that document for anything. The rest of the company is not allowed to, because that's how you structured this. So most company knowledge is like that. So understanding the governance, the permissions
mhm,
models, who can access what, these are very important considerations. Like you can't train a model in an
mhm,
enterprise or all of enterprise knowledge and then use that to deliver information to everybody inside the company, because then you're leaking information. So like doing this in a safe and secure way, properly understanding like the governance of your knowledge inside the company. That's another big focus for
mhm,
Glean. We spend a lot of time on that part. And then the last thing I would say is, if you think about companies, large enterprises, they've been there in business for like, maybe 100 years, 200 years,
mhm,
a long time, right? And there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of
mhm,
information, that's produced over many, decades. And so first, there's so much of that. So you have to build scalable systems to process all that knowledge. But second, a lot of that knowledge is obsolete today. Like, it's actually no longer accurate. And so when you think about any enterprise, there's tons of information, but of varying quality. Some of them is fresh and up to date. Some of it is inaccurate and stale. Some of it is actually written by subject matter experts, and therefore it's of high quality. Some of it is low quality. So you have to sort of really understand the knowledge deeply inside the company, and always use the best knowledge and bring it to the AI models so that they can use the best knowledge to actually answer questions for people.
mhm,
And so there's a lot of work that we do actually goes into that part of like, really deeply understanding an enterprise
mhm,
and its people and how they interact with knowledge, and use all of that information to figure out like, the best pieces of knowledge for any given individual and any given question and then make AI work on it. So those are the three different vectors, where Glean distinguishes itself from other players.
Totally. I feel like what you said about like I feel like the level of privacy, the governance of the
Mm.
knowledge is definitely very important. I definitely heard about crazy rumors of like people knowing other people's salary in the
Yeah,
company or like some crazy
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And I wonder for like, there's a lot of unstructured data within the
yeah,
company. So sometimes it's like like just different type of like an image or like there's a
yeah,
music or there's like a video. So how do you quickly process the unstructured data the
yeah.
company provides?
Yeah, that's actually the magical powers of language models and
Mhm,
AI technology of today, is
mhm,
that AI is actually really, really good at reading long form text
mhm,
documents, unstructured information,
mhm,
and make sense of it. So our approach is that, first we connect with all these enterprise systems. We bring all this unstructured knowledge in one place, and
mhm,
now we are actually using this technology to build a rack style system. We index all of this content. We embed, we build, custom models inside your enterprise, which are trained on your own, personal, your company's corpus, and then use those models to embed that content, build, and build the semantic search layer, which sort of understands, everything about your company and people,
mhm,
and using these custom trained models. And so that's the first part of, like, this, architecture of the Glean product is, building semantic search over all of your enterprise knowledge. Now when you come and ask a question, like, the way it works is that first we will take that question and we'll try to retrieve the right pieces of information, and this is all unstructured, but we're going to actually retrieve, information that we think is relevant, to that question that you're asking. And then after that, all you have to do is, you ask an AI model, to actually process all of that unstructured information that we're providing to it, which we think is relevant to the question, given question. And the AI is going to do a great job at actually making sense of that unstructured information and actually producing an answer. Like, whether you're trying to synthesize, summarize, analyze information, AI
mhm,
is really good at that. So just to be clear, like, handling unstructured information effectively, like, a lot of that magic actually comes from the AI models
mhm.
that we are able to actually use.
Mm. I wonder another really important thing was like you mentioned about like you're always using the most like fresh knowledge within the company because I feel like a lot of times like even within my own company I would create these document that's
Yeah,
like very
yeah,
like today and tomorrow the two things could be completely
that's right.
different.
Yeah,
And how do you quickly validate the data that's like the most newer version? So sometimes even the
yeah,
newer version may not be the most accurate version because
that's right.
there may be two teams at a big company working on the same thing. Team
Yeah,
A is doing something and team B is doing something else, but it's
yeah,
like serving the same function even for like the sales
yeah,
strategies. So maybe a team
yeah,
will be focusing on inbound
yeah.
or the other team focusing on outbound. Like I feel like they would have different training models for the
Mm.
AI itself, and then like having some sort of like coherent
Yeah,
answer within the company may be a challenge. I wonder
yeah,
how do you solve like the
yeah,
problem of the unclearness of a
yeah,
really big
yeah.
organization?
And that's, by the way, that's true for every company, or the world in general. Like,
Mhm,
on any given topic, you have lots of information,
mhm,
contributed by, a lot of different people,
mhm,
and they're all sort of different. Like, we all think
mhm,
differently. We all have different sort of view of the world and information and knowledge, and we actually share it. So you always have this situation of, in a company, you have information and knowledge that's produced by humans.
mhm,
Some of it is, inaccurate because, it's basically now, because it's obsolete. Things have changed since,
mhm,
the knowledge was created. Some of it is, incorrect, because, it was incorrect, from the
mhm,
beginning, because whoever wrote it, didn't know the right, didn't know the right facts. and
mhm,
and so you have to deal with this. This is natural. Like, you will have different levels of quality of information, and so the way to solve for that is, you have to sort of go deep inside the enterprise, and build an understanding of the company and the
mhm,
people. And building understanding of people is actually very important here.
mhm,
So in general, like, it's true that the newer a document is, the more likely it is going to be correct, because it's
Mhm.
reflecting the changing world and
Mhm.
how things happen today. So basically, just understanding that part from all the company knowledge, what content was produced recently, typically is of higher quality, and we'll actually
Mhm.
promote that in our retrieval. But then, as you said, sometimes that's not necessarily true. You may have a person who's not a subject matter expert on a given topic,
Mhm.
uh, and they write something new, but that's maybe not as good as somebody who's a real deep authority on that topic, and they wrote something else a week before you. So you have to sort of take that also into account. Is that somebody may have maybe more knowledgeable on a topic, and so therefore you have to give information that they write a bit more weight. And then
Mhm.
finally, there are a lot of signals in the enterprise. If you think about a document that actually a lot of people inside the company are consuming, or in recently, then that actually gives you a good signal that that's probably important. There is a reason why there's so many people interacting with that content. It gives you a signal that both it is sort of maybe up to date and fresh, because otherwise somebody would have complained that hey, this is not giving me the right information. And so these are the so when you start to think about an enterprise, there are a lot of signals available. If you actually
Mhm.
put your focus on understanding the people and the knowledge, look at interactions, look at how people how people are creating knowledge, how people are using
Mhm.
knowledge, then you'll be able to accumulate all these different signals, which sort of tell you, for a given topic, for a given person, what's the most important information for them. And that's of course the core technology for Glean. That's we need
Mhm.
that to build a good search experience. We need that to build
Mhm.
good chat experience.
Mm. I have like a really detailed question. So like for example, like you mentioned, maybe like uh it's kind of like based on people's seniority. I don't know if it's seniority or like
Mhm.
expertise. How do you kind of like figure out who has the expertise and what beside like
Yeah,
figure out their job title? And a
yeah,
lot of the bigger company, the job title are like very um not very meaningful because
yeah,
sometimes could be like the head of growth, like, what does
yeah,
that mean? So, like,
yeah,
a lot of some people
yeah,
assume that's, like, the revenue or some
yeah,
people
yeah,
are, they be maybe, like, go to market or product or, like, could be
yeah.
anything.
That's right.
So, how do you actually customize the model
Mm.
for each different company?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a great question. The org chart actually, and in fact, I think the smaller companies probably are even
Mhm,
worse, because in a small company, you may not even have an org chart,
mhm,
or people may have some title, but you do so many different things, and one title won't capture everything that you do.
mhm,
But see, the way Glean works is that we connect with your HRIS system. So we look at the organizational hierarchy. We look at who you are, who are the members of your team, who do you
mhm,
work for, what is your official title. All of that is useful information, but it's not sufficient. More importantly, what we do is we actually are building a knowledge graph for your enterprise. So
mhm,
we're actually also looking at what every individual is actually doing, right?
mhm,
What
mhm,
content are they actually writing? Are you
mhm,
authoring a lot of documents on a given topic?
mhm,
um, are you actually answering questions? Like if you
mhm,
think about uh, systems like Slack or email, when somebody asks questions, are you the one who actually answers questions on a given topic a lot, right? And
mhm,
so those are the things that you have available to you.
mhm,
So the way the Glean model works is that our language models will first actually understand your enterprise. It'll look at all the corpus, all the documents, all the information, and it'll figure out what are the key subject matters, like what are the topics, what are the concepts that are
mhm,
relevant to this enterprise. Then we will look at okay, who are the ones who are actually contributing to those topics. Like for example, who's actually writing about language models, or who's writing about
mhm,
AI, or who's actually writing about like our backend system
mhm,
inside the company. So you look at that contribution that people are
mhm,
making, and that actually allows you to then go and build an understanding of that. Hey, this person, it seems like they are very active on talking about these four different topics. They've
mhm,
written a lot of documents, they've answered a lot of questions for the people, and
mhm,
therefore they're an expert on that topic. So that's how we build an understanding. It's not based on just reading your job title.
mhm.
It's actually based on seeing the work that you've done in the company.
Mm. I really like that, like what you said about like, really understand how each organization is kind of
Mm.
felt and then understand like, who is working on what and then kind of having really tailored solution to them. And I wonder when it comes to like by the way, quick shout out to the audience. Hi Tavis, hi Mary. I wonder when it comes to building the enterprise solution as a whole, when you're selling to different enterprise, what's a Glean's process to start the workflow? Because I think to understand the very nuance of how each company is functioning, it seems like it could be really hard to do it at scale. So obviously I'm sure Glean have like developed like some sort of system that's as the base of it.
Yeah.
But for each enterprise, there may be like very nuanced solution for it. So how do you think about, let's say, for example, a biotech company or like a SaaS company or like a consumer tech company, how do they use Glean differently? And then what's your kind of tailored solution or like this special uniqueness of these different type
Yeah.
of companies that you're selling to?
Yeah. Well, first, so like everything that we talked about, that
Mhm,
like about like when Glean gets deployed in an
mhm,
enterprise, it connects with your different systems. It
mhm,
understands the people, knowledge, subject matter experts, all of that stuff. Everything is actually automated largely in the sense that the software does all of this work. We our integrations are also
mhm,
very turnkey in nature. So when you
mhm,
deploy Glean, in an enterprise, you can
mhm,
actually be up and running pretty quickly from a technology perspective. Like most of
mhm,
our time, deployment, why it takes long is
mhm,
because of the actual processes that you have to go through, which are not necessarily
mhm,
technical in nature. This around security um and business value and like a lot of other things that we have to work on. But the actual product is not, we're not building a different product for different companies.
mhm,
It's the same software that actually goes, and it does work well, for different personas, within a company. The same product does a good job for engineers, for support, for
mhm,
sales people. But similarly, the same product works well in a high tech company or in a finserv company or a health tech company or retail or manufacturing, because
mhm,
we are actually solving a very basic, very fundamental problem, which is that, well, if you have people who have questions,
mhm,
who work with knowledge and information, well, we're going to be helpful to them. So
mhm,
of course, in all these companies, you have lots of knowledge workers, and so therefore the product generally works across different verticals. But then we do go and there are some differences, vertical by vertical. For example, for financial companies,
mhm,
um, they have certain requirements, when it comes to how do they deploy AI.
mhm,
There restrictions around like compliant, being compliant, with laws and regulations. So there's a lot of work that actually then happens vertical by vertical, where we have specific teams
mhm,
that focus on those verticals and make sure that our solution, our product is actually working well within those companies that we are actually working on, making sure that we are bringing in all the compliance related work that we need to, for example, for to actually serve healthcare companies properly. Like we need to have HIPAA compliance, so then we go and work on that. But overall, the idea is that it's a product that we ultimately we make it work for different verticals, for different companies, largely in an automated manner, without requiring long implementation cycles at our customers.
mhm. I like that, like, the solution is technically the same thing for like all different sectors. I want to go back to when you first created Glean. Like I wonder, I know that you said about this in like a different interview like a while ago. So that like the first um audience or like the target user was companies that are like 500 to 2,000 people. That was the original sweet spot. Um, I wonder how did you like what was the journey to land the first client?
Mhm.
And then how do you identify who should be the first group of audience that you serve? Like maybe it could be fintech companies, it could be like
Yeah,
some other type of specific realm
yeah,
of companies.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we went through that real solid
Mhm,
process figuring out our ICP. So
Mhm.
it's one of the things that in hindsight, like I
Mhm.
can say that, well, we should have done a better job. But but overall, and that was like, one of the difficulties of our product is that our product is actually so basic, so fundamental in terms of what it does for people. Like, it's like
Mhm.
Google, it's like ChatGPT
Mhm.
inside a company. So every single person, no
Mhm.
matter like what company you work at, whether it's a large company,
Mhm.
small company, what vertical it is in, everybody
Mhm.
has a need for this product. uh,
Mhm.
and so therefore, when, like, every business in the world, like, large or
Mhm.
small, tech or healthcare, whatever, like, vertical you're in, if everybody's a customer, like, who do you go and focus on? And so we initially, like, it was sort of easy. We knew that the largest enterprises, they have, more requirements, which, and also they won't feel as comfortable working with an early stage startup. And so we said that, like, well, look, let's pick a set of companies which can actually move fast, which are
Mhm.
more, which are more sort of amenable to, like, experimenting with the product that a startup is
Mhm.
just building. And so we picked, like, somewhat smaller, but we didn't pick a company with less than 100 people, because
Mhm.
we felt that, well, in less than 100 people company, like, maybe they're not as motivated. Maybe the
Mhm.
pain of, like, not being able to find things is not that high, because, like, generally these
Mhm.
companies will be younger in nature. Like, they will younger in the sense that they're only like a few years old as a company. and
Mhm.
and like, people typically will sort of know, like, like, who to go and ask for help or where to go and look for things.
Mhm.
So the need might not be as super strong as. And so we sort of, that's what, made us sort of choose this sort of mid-sized companies, which are 500 people to
Mhm.
2,000 people as our sweet spot, where we knew the pain would be felt, it would be large enough. It was a
Mhm.
pain that I felt, like, Rubrik sort of fit that same segment. Like, we're
Mhm.
1,500 people, and we saw there's a big pain there. That's how the company got started.
Mhm.
So we started with that as our ICP segment. And then second thing that we did was, well, I mean, like, we were familiar with, that, yes, the pain existed, within tech companies. So then we said, okay, let's just go and solve the problem first for them. So keep it simple, like, even though we're building a product in a very general, way, which will apply, it'll apply to all the different
Mhm.
industries. um, like, start with, what you're familiar with, who you're comfortable with, where you may also, like, find it easy to actually, identify the right people to go and, do an outreach to and see if they're interested, right? So that's sort of what our thought process was when we started. So it was 500 to 1,000 people companies. It was actually mostly tech companies, in the beginning, that we exclusively focused on. So our first 20 or 30 customers probably were all
Mhm.
tech companies. And then, in terms of how do you actually, like, find those, find those first 20 or 50 customers.
Mhm.
So we, like, I was the salesperson, the solo
Mhm.
salesperson for a while. Then I got one or two more people to help me, and we were all doing it as a part-time job,
Mhm.
or where we would cold outreach. And, like, we used LinkedIn as our primary mechanism
Mhm.
for, connecting with people and sharing with them the problem that we're solving. And, sure enough, like, you connect, you send messages to a lot of people, and there are some, like, who are going through that pain, and they will be eager to learn more.
Mhm.
And we're not selling, like, so initially when we built when we did this outreach, we didn't tell anybody that, hey, would you be interested in buying the product? In fact, we were actually just looking for somebody to do a discussion with, and, like, make sure that we understood their requirements so that we can build a good product. So that's how we did the initial outreach. And, like, there are people, like, a lot of people are excited to talk um, with startup founders.
Mhm.
They want to look at, what innovation is happening, and they have a lot of great um, experience, that they can share with, that particular startup and help them. So we found those. We found, like, folks who were super helpful to us in our journey in the beginning. They gave us requirements. They told us, like, how to actually go, like, what are the key pain points that they had, which allowed us to build the product.
Mm. I really like what you said about like essentially like at the very beginning you were your first salesperson and then you were like
Yeah,
directly chatting with a customer on LinkedIn
yeah.
and you have like a general profile of like the people that you want to go after but it's also like a lot of it were like trial and errors so
Mhm.
maybe they're too big too slow or like too
Yeah,
small like doesn't have enough pain
yeah.
um I wonder, so like when you were first selling your product, obviously you had such a great track record in your back corner. who were like the people that your target is? Are like the CIOs? And obviously, you guys are like the darling of the CIOs nowadays. But how does the build up kind of look like for you at the beginning when you had to educate the CIO on like,
Yeah.
what is the function of Glean basically?
Yeah, yeah. So our target persona was the CIO
Hmm.
and also the CTO
Hmm.
at these companies. Sometimes also the head of support. These were the three primary personas that we chose initially to go and talk to and learn from.
Hmm.
And the reason why the CIO is the number one persona for Glean is because they have the broadest purview of bringing the right technology to the company across
Hmm.
all the different functions within their organization.
Hmm.
So we started with the I think like see like if you are solving a problem that
Hmm.
matters to people, then if you're out doing an outreach in a right way, if you're actually making it clear to somebody that there is something for them to benefit from in that conversation, then you will get that interest. You will actually get some people to respond. I mean, I see everybody's busy, so many people have a lot of work that they have to do. I'm also very busy, for example, and I get a lot of outreach from other startup founders who are building great products and trying to actually sell something
Hmm.
to us now. And I take those calls, like not all of them because I can't, but there are some which actually match like a
Hmm.
problem that I have today in my company, and I'm actually curious to learn more. And so I think that's the so it's not so much about like, hey, you need to have a profile or a background, or a status, because like everybody has to start from zero. We also started from
Hmm.
zero, right? We had no customers, we had no product actually. Like when
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm like, just imagine, like I'm actually trying to like get somebody to give me time, even though I don't even have a product to offer to them. And but it's a like I'm promising a good technical conversation. I'm promising that I will share something with them that they might find useful, and of course I'm actually like hoping to learn a lot from them. So I think, like, the when you do an outreach the right way, you'll get the attention of the folks you want to get attention from.
Mm, I really like that. I like that just like, I guess starting from zero, you went in with like an honest conversation to like promise like, you are gonna try to hear their problem and actually creating a solution after the conversation. And I feel like it takes a lot for especially for like people who are technical or maybe like sales is now like they're like in their natural habitat to like really go out there
Yeah,
and creating that kind of the sense of connection to
yeah,
the people who are like the CIOs
yeah,
or like the head of support of the world.
yeah.
So I want to quickly address to one of the audience question.
Mhm,
Michael asked, how does the access control elements ensure people aren't seeing information they're not supposed
mhm.
to? I think you
Yeah,
touched about this a little bit at the very beginning about,
yeah,
you know, obviously, we shouldn't
yeah,
be seeing the private part of the a lot of
yeah,
like the company information,
yeah.
but yeah.
Yes, as part of our integrations, so we have hundreds
Mhm.
of integrations to your enterprise systems. So as part of that, we actually understand the access control mechanism within those applications. So as an
Mhm.
example, like we have an integration with Google Drive, and
Mhm.
so when we go and use the Google Drive API, and we find a document, there,
Mhm.
we also have API calls that we can make to them to understand what users and what groups
Mhm.
within the company can actually view that content, right? And
Mhm.
so that information, so we actually fetch this information on a continuous basis
Mhm.
from these applications, and then
Mhm.
they become part of our core indexing technology. So when you actually come and search in Glean, or ask a question in Glean, you always have to be signed in using your enterprise identity, and then we'll use that to know that, hey, like, that acts as a filter. So like, you like the documents that we'll actually give back to you, as what are relevant, they will also like be the documents, where you actually had the right to see that content. And so we do that for every single application, and which requires us to actually build a deep understanding of like access control strategies, that those systems use. For example, if you talk about that was Google Drive that I just talked
Mhm.
about. But if you talk about Confluence, it has a different concept of how it does permissions. In Confluence, you have hierarchical permissions where, like, for a given page, it will tell you, like, what users and groups can access that information. But then it also depends on what space it is part of, and, like,
Mhm.
it inherits some of the permissions from that. So you sort of have to go and build these, the actual understanding of permission control, like within all, in all each one of those individual applications.
I wonder, so like I really like that, like,
Mm,
what basically you mentioned about, like, different API technically have different um
yeah.
like it defines like how you have like different access of control. So
Mm,
I wonder from like the building a company perspective,
mm,
obviously Glean have oh god. So maybe we'll save this for later. So someone asked like how many customer you have, but I feel like this is a sensitive question. I don't know. You
mhm.
guys have some really big clients, so let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So I wonder when it comes to thinking about like the company's growth, right? Like,
Yeah.
so within the past few months, you guys have the newest round was like you guys raised over like 260 million, and then
Mhm,
before that was like 200 million early on this year. You guys grew really fast, and from zero to now like over 500 people in the team. I wonder what does the journey kind of look like on your end as a CEO? Obviously, like, from the first time that you hit like the product market fit, like signing the first client to
mhm.
nowadays becoming like one of the fastest growing AI company. What's a journey has been like for you?
Well, it's incredible. I think, getting the opportunity to build a great product with great people, and make an impact, on people and their work lives. I think it just
Mhm,
feels super exciting. Like I'm, like I'm thankful for, like, all the great things, happening to us in our company.
mhm,
It's a very, I think we I feel like, if you have a mission that you personally care about a lot,
mhm,
and which is true for me, like, it's been, working, is like it, like it was very frustrating for me personally, for example, to struggle, like, when I was like doing any piece of work, like I need, so many questions and I need answers to those, and all of them take, like almost like so much time that I get, like, looking for information, finding my answers, like, is consumes most of the time, and I move slow, and so it was always sort of, bothered me a lot. And so now, when we see our product actually, making that difference to our users, to our customers, where they come and tell us, like, how much time we're saving them, and how, like, how we're reducing, the frustration that they have in their work. That's actually feels like, really, really good to us. So, like, it's been a great journey for me, personally, like, seeing, where we have come, from, again, like, as I said, starting from zero.
mm. I wonder, like, if you separate them into like separate the whole like different, no matter if you separate from like different round of funding or like since you started building the company a few years ago, what would be three major waves that you feel like defines like Glean's like growth?
Yeah. Well, the first one is the first one, which is when we started, there was a reason why we started. And there was this big wave in the industry, the SaaS transformation, where, like,
Mhm,
businesses were increasingly using, very specific, specialized applications for different business needs. And you would sort of end up with, like, hundreds or thousands of different systems within your company, which
mhm,
caused, like, this problem of, massive fragmentation, all of your company's data and knowledge across so many different systems. And so that sort of gave that, like, gave birth to Glean, because we were there to now come, like, we wanted to go and solve that problem.
mhm,
And right at the time of when we started, the AI language models were actually making their mark, in the industry. Not everybody was talking about it, like, like the way we
mhm,
see it today, but within the search community, like, these language models were initially built in Google,
mhm,
um, you know to actually make Google search better. So we, as search engineers, like most of our company, like, we're ex-school search
mhm,
engineers, and so we knew about these models, and we knew that, these were, using these models effectively would allow us to build the best, search, product, in the company. So that was the first big, thing. Then in terms of like, the core pivotal moments for the company, the next one came, I would say, when we actually finally built our product, and got our first 25 customers.
Mhm.
And we were lucky and fortunate to actually work with some of the most iconic companies, especially in the tech industry, which actually created a really amazing user love
Mhm.
and goodwill for the company in the community. Like, people actually started to feel that, well, like, this problem that has never been solved before, enterprise search, that, like, Glean has actually finally built a really good product that people actually love in this space. And so that sort of created like a lot of momentum for us. That word of mouth started to, get going,
Mhm.
at that particular point in time. This was about, like, I would say, maybe 2021.
Mhm.
um, and then the 2022, end of 2022, the chat gpt moment, that actually, like, changed us from, because we were always a
Mhm.
category, defining company, like, in the sense
Mhm.
that people are not used to buying a product like Glean. In fact, there's no product like Glean in the market, like no other comparable thing that was out there. So
Mhm.
most of the companies that were buying our product, they were not replacing any product inside their
Mhm.
company with us. They were actually buying a product like ours for the very first time. So we were
Mhm.
in this category creation moment. We were always in this evangelical play for the company, where we had to actually educate people that, hey, you should actually go and look at a product like Glean, because it'll actually help your workforce become a lot more productive. Um, and so there's a lot of education required to go to actually build this category, and
Mhm.
build this market. But then end of 2022 was when ChatGPT launched, and finally, like, everybody in the world saw the magic of
Mhm.
AI, right? Before that, like, the magic of AI was being seen by engineers who were actually working on
Mhm.
large language models, and that brought it to everyone. And so that just immediately overnight changed, people's perception of Glean also, because when everybody saw ChatGPT, and, well, I mean, you can go and ask any question, it actually beautifully answers those questions for
Mhm.
you. Like, then at that point, enterprise leaders started to think about, oh, what can I do with, if I had something like this inside my company,
Mhm.
and I could have a model that is actually trained on all of my company's knowledge and data, and like, my employees can then go and ask questions,
Mhm.
and a product like that, a product like, this ChatGPT, that could actually go and answer all the questions that they have using my company's knowledge and
Mhm.
data. That would be so amazing. That would actually
Mhm.
unleash a level of productivity increase that I've never seen before. So it's
Mhm.
sort of like suddenly, like, created this demand for the product that we had. Like, luckily, that exactly was the product that we had already at
Mhm.
that time, right? Glean was
Mhm.
that chat GPT for your enterprise, connected to all of the company's data. So it changed our company from a category creation,
Mhm.
um, evangelical sale, to where now every company in the world actually wants a product like us. So that sort of unleashed, like,
Mhm.
level of growth and demand, for our product.
Mm. I really like all these like big momentum that
Mm.
you have shared. One thing I want to double click on is like you mentioned like at the very beginning it was being a search engineer at Google, like it being immersed in the search engineering community, you kind of already discover a lot of these like
Mm.
newest model. And I wonder what's your general outlook on the future of work? Obviously, I feel like Glean solved the problem on the back end, which is like different companies, different data are in different database, different software, and like Glean kind of merge them all together.
Yeah.
That's like a problem that you're solving on the back end. On the other hand, like from the front end perspective, people like a chat GPT like situation at work. So like Brad Gerstner said in the Majona conference that we went to, it was kind of, like people loving the chat kind of interface, and then that's like definitely extremely comfortable. And I wonder what's your outlook on the future of work? So
Yeah.
beyond the search, like obviously Glean will predict a lot of people's intention within the companies. What would the future of like a work companion or work
Yeah.
AI agent kind of look like for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so first, like, just to
Mhm.
be clear, Glean today
Mhm.
already understands individuals and
Mhm.
and their work day and work life, and
Mhm.
the Glean gives you this front end experience, with a
Mhm.
Google like search experience, and with
Mhm.
the chat GPT like conversational experience,
Mhm.
um, that people use every day, right? So, employees in the company, they use the Glean assistant, and
Mhm.
they use it just like how they use chat GPT. The only difference is that you can actually also answer questions using your private company knowledge. So
Mhm.
now, but you like moving forward. So right now, a lot of AI, the impact of AI in the enterprise
Mhm.
is sort of around that, which is that hey, it's a helpful tool, it's a
Mhm.
conversational assistant. As a worker, you can actually go and use it, to ask questions or ask it to do some work, like create some artifacts, summarize some content, things like that. The But what's going to happen in the future? So I believe
Mhm.
that first of all, like for all of us, 5 years from now, and I think like maybe I'm too slow, like in terms of like most of us actually, humans are generally slow in terms of predicting, how fast progress happens.
Mhm.
But that's my view, that in 5 years from now, majority of the work that we do, we won't be doing anymore.
Mhm.
It's going to be actually done by AI, companions and AI assistants and AI agents, whatever you want to call them.
Mhm.
And so we are like looking at a very different world, of the future, where AI is going to play a big role in our lives. Um, the A lot of like when you do work in the future, like a lot of things that you're okay doing today, you won't be okay doing anymore in the future, because well, that's sort of that stuff that AI could actually already do for you. And so you'll sort of like maybe some of that drudgery, some of that tedious work that you have to do, some of the like the like low level like
Mhm.
research tasks, those will be done by AI, and you can actually be more creative, like and actually do a lot more, accomplish a lot more, because
Mhm.
you have such amazing help that comes from AI. So that's sort of my view, that majority of our current work is going to be replaced, and it's going to be replaced by not like I don't think people are going to start working less hard like in 5 years from
Mhm.
now. We'll probably still be going to be doing the same amount of work, but I think it will sort of just translate to like much higher productivity and
Mhm.
higher quality of work output that we create with the
Mhm.
assistance of AI.
Mm. What would you think would be first? Oh, you mentioned about like some lower level research
Yeah,
tasks are going to be gone. And what's your vision for Glean going after like
yeah,
just becoming that companion
yeah.
with like every employee?
Yeah, so that's our vision. We want to be that personal assistant and a
Mhm.
sidekick, or a
Mhm.
companion
I'm a sidekick.
to every individual. And it's actually proactive. Like if you think about the assistant, like if some executives have executive assistants, who do a lot of
Mhm.
work for them. The executive assistants today, I mean, these are humans. They're not AI based assistants. They're
Mhm.
actually very helpful to the executives in many different ways. One
Mhm.
is that they're available as help. So as an executive, for example, I can actually ask my assistant, that hey, can you do this work for me, or
Mhm.
can you find out what, where are we on this particular project, and they can actually go and do that work for me on demand, right? But
Mhm.
at the same time, they also know a lot about me and my life. Like they
Mhm.
know about what are my priorities for this week, who are
Mhm.
the people who I need to meet. They actually manage my calendar. They actually manage my schedule. They direct me, to the things that I need to work on. So they're very proactive in nature, right? They're actually helping me with my day, planning my day. And that's the same thing that Glean will do for you in the future. Is going to be that really powerful, proactive personal assistant to you. It's going to actually, for example, you start your work day, and it's going to exactly tell you, what are the things you need to be working on today, who are the
Mhm.
people who you should be meeting, and it'll do that by actually understanding what your weekly goals are, what your monthly
Mhm.
goals are. And so that's the kind of help that we can all expect to have in the
Mhm.
future. That help is not going to be limited to executives in the future. All of us will have that.
I want to be mindful of the time. Maybe we keep one question and then like one quick 1 minute fire round.
Mhm.
So like So one of the audience have asked, like, who are Glean's competitors. So
Mhm.
I don't know if you're comfortable talking about the
Yeah,
competitive landscape. And then obviously there are some other AI companies are mentioning about, like, from the investing angle, people should avoid a certain companies and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe we could just
yeah,
generally address like Glean's like
yeah,
competitive advantage, and what's your thought process on like people's, like, how Glean would separate itself from in the future from being that companion slash assistant. Like, what's the next
yeah,
move for you to go after these different product and features add on
yeah.
top of the Glean's workflow today?
Yeah. So in terms of competition, there are so we like first of all, I think we generally don't, we're not competing with foundational model companies. They are our very
Mhm,
close partners because our product works, with their technology is actually a fundamental ingredient of like the overall technology that we
mhm,
provide to our customers. So even though like I think you're mentioning, I think you're referring to the OpenAI, like that we are like in that list of 5 companies as maybe who they think of as competitors, like we definitely think of them more as a partner, because we are we use their technology, and that makes our product better. Um, the um, the but I think like the way I would think about AI right now is that there is a it's not a hyper competitive market. I think people are mistaken, when they think about that, hey, there's so many new AI products and they're all competing with each other. Yes, there are companies, that are building products similar to Glean now, quite a few of them actually. Many of them are small, or they've just started, working on those things. We've been at the business, in this business for the last 6 years. So we have the most advanced product out there. But more importantly, my point is that, AI is, hugely expanding the market for software technologies.
mhm,
Um, because it's actually doing things. AI is allowing software to do things that was not in the purview of software in the past. So I fundamentally believe that there is more opportunity than there are builders today, like who can build products, and we're
mhm,
constantly going to be in this situation where there's so many things that need to happen that we don't have good products for. That's our fundamental attitude. So the way we build our product always is, like, if somebody else is inventing stuff, and doing a great job of it, then we won't actually go and build those things ourselves if we have the ability to use the work that they have. And so we always think of ourselves as what can we innovate on, what areas can we focus on that others have chosen
mhm,
not to, and then how can we use the other, like like the how can we make use of the innovation that that they are, that other companies are actually building, and make it part of our product. So that's my attitude. So like I still feel that AI is a land of great opportunity. And it's not, I think competition right now is irrelevant in this field. And
mhm.
I think what the bigger challenge for companies is to actually learn how to use this technology and build great products that can add value to your customers.
Mm. I really like that. Basically, some of the times, like, I guess, like, being viewing the competitive landscape with like a more friendly eye, which is thinking about other people as collaborators, is like definitely really important. And obviously, I really like, in the Amazon mantra, there was like a quote. Basically, it's like, like, yeah, sure, you can look at the competitors, but you should also focus on, like, mostly focus on the customers. In the
Yeah,
end of the day, it's like, can you solve the customer's main problem, main pain point? It's
exactly.
like whoever will solve that first would be the winner of the category. I want to end with like a quick 1 minute fire round for you.
Mhm.
Okay, what's your favorite book?
Favorite book?
Mhm.
Yeah, my book right now. I've been reading the Sapiens book, and I like that a lot. I just haven't finished it yet.
I like that. Who would you invite to your dinner party?
Um, for dinner party. Well,
At
I
this
would love.
point, I feel like you probably had all the best like dinner party guests, since like, your investors are some of like the most iconic people ever. But okay, so sorry. I should let you finish the dinner party question.
Well, I mean I think like I would love to actually have dinner, with our, with the folks in my company, folks, with my friends. I said, like, I guess in terms of like, who would I love to meet, and learn from. I mean, there's so many iconic leaders. I would love to, for example, have a chance to meet, um, some of the great AI minds, which I've not had the opportunity to do so. Um, Folks like Sam or Ilya and others. Yeah.
Mm. Who made the biggest impact in your career?
The So a lot of folks at Google. I would like not one particular person in mind, but I think like I like I most of my learnings and also like building the confidence to do things. It came from learning from people at Google.
Mm. Where can we find you outside of work?
Maybe on a tennis court.
Oh, nice. Thought you were gonna say golf since like I feel like the golf hat is happening at all time. But yeah,
Yeah.
it became like an iconic part of your look. Well, Arvind, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was such a fun conversation.
Likewise, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Okay, let me quickly end the stream. Thank you, audience, for joining.